Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and this evening we're going to have a look at the live radar for the snow, the weather warnings, and then we'll have a look at some of the longer range and mid-range models as well. Having a look at what the patterns are coming up over the next week to 2 weeks and what snow potential we have for the rest of the week. Remember, if you do enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. And now we'll get into the video. Now currently on the radar you can see the North Sea snow showers have actually pepped up in the last hour or so. We'll start over in Ireland, and you can see quite a few areas of snow, and where we do see these persistent areas of snow, there could be some accumulation, especially overnight tonight. Again, elsewhere, there's not too many showers, but if you are in one of these bands of heavy snow, there's potential you could see a decent covering here or there. Further northwards, we've got a rash of heavy showers, still got heavy showers in that amber warning zone, which is still in force, and we still have a lot of showers peppering in from the east coast. They are a lot bigger this evening, and it's very interesting that they're getting powered up a little bit more, and you can see we actually have a convergence zone that I showed you on the facts charts. I think it was yesterday. Convergence zone for tonight has stretching across sort of southern parts of East Anglia towards the London area, and you can see quite extensive, moderate with a few heavier bursts of snow in there. And there's potential again for a good few centimetres in there. Currently where I am, I've got moderate to heavy snow, and it is accumulating quite widely. Maybe only got a dusting on the ground right now, but it is snowing quite heavily. So I suspect tomorrow morning, if this sustains, we could see maybe 3 or 4 or 5 centimetres of snow, potentially. Again, these sort of systems can very quickly fade or move. It's looking like this convergence zone will slip further southwards, but if you're anywhere really in this region, you could be waking up to quite a surprise dusting tomorrow morning. It's been, again, a very disappointing day, where the ground temperatures have just been slightly too warm, combined with sort of decently high UV levels we're getting through, and solar radiation we're getting through in February now, which means during the day, unless the ground's frozen solid, it is pretty difficult to get significant snow to accumulate. But it is accumulating overnight, so your best chances for some decent snowfall, especially in the southeast area, getting even into parts of southwestern areas, is from this sort of convergence zone, which is setting up tonight with some quite heavy snow within it. Further south and west, we have weather fronts that are bringing quite heavy snow into northern parts of France, but it is flirting with the southwest. Southwest actually saw a streamer this morning, so some areas around like sort of Truro, Plymouth saw a few showers and potentially a little bit of covering here or there. Looking like this may bump into that, but it was accompanying a bit milder air, so it may be a little bit of rain on the coast. If you get further inland, perhaps a bit of snow, but it's looking like it's just going to be skirting the south coast. If we now have a look at the weather warnings, you can see a widespread snow warning. I'm surprised that they haven't issued an amber warning actually for this stream that's heading through London, or this convergence zone that's running through London right now, as it's looking as significant as the amber warning zone they did towards Scotland. Now you can argue that they probably have more snow on the ground already in Scotland, but it is what I'm seeing out of my window right now. It's pretty decent, and I could be coming up with a surprise snow event come this morning if these sort of snow rates hold up for the next few hours, which, looking at the radar there, definitely looks like at least got another hour or two of moderate to heavy snow. So very interesting with that. I would expect it's kind of a scenario where it's kind of a 50-50 between an amber and a yellow, and it's interesting to see that they've remained with the yellow. But it'll be interesting to see if they update that overnight tonight, if the convergence zone gets a little bit more intense. But elsewhere, widespread yellow warnings. Tomorrow, again, widespread yellow warnings, but tomorrow is really the last day of widespread snow showers, especially for eastern areas. On Thursday and Friday, it's a lot more restrained to northeastern areas, eastern parts of Scotland, northeastern England, northern Scotland, and much further towards the coast, as the wind's not going to be as strong, so it's not going to be blowing as far inland, and it's becoming of a more of a northeasterly direction, so less snow getting down to further south. So yeah, probably today and tomorrow is the last time really many southern areas are going to see some decent snow for at least the time being. We'll now run through the GFS. I haven't really looked at these models on my videos too much in the last few days, as we've been focusing more on the shorter term impacts of the snow, but it's looking like it will generally, most of the models' consensus is going to thaw. There was a suspicion a few days ago, perhaps, that we could build another Scandinavian high and build bring in some more easterly winds, but it's looking at the moment that high is going to be pushed away by the low pressure, which is going to start to introduce a milder air. It's still difficult to see what's going to happen in about a week or so time, where the Scandinavian high could re-strengthen, but at the moment it's definitely looking like it would be turning a little bit milder towards the end of this week and the start of next week. So if you run through the model, we've got a brisk easterly wind. You can see higher pressure built in, which means for Thursday, that's why the showers are maintained further towards the northeast, but it's going to be turning colder, especially overnight, with lighter winds, higher chance of a really quite potent overnight frost. ECMWF was forecasting -10. Again, they do over dramatise it, as they are predicting a bit more snow cover than we currently have, so I suspect it may be getting down to -5 to -10 in the south, and widespread below -5 as well. No small local spots getting perhaps below -10, which would be bitterly cold. Maybe cold, the coldest overnight temperatures for many years in some regions, so it'll be interesting to see what we see from that. Beyond that, you see the high pressure builds towards Scandinavia, but it doesn't never gets its proper easterly winds in. It's this low, tries to push it away, and we start to bring up, we sort of got this battleground. We've got higher pressure trying to build in and lower pressure out in the Atlantic. You can see cold air still lingers in the east, but further westwards we've still got milder air pushing in, and where that boundary is, there could be some weather fronts. But since it's coming up against high pressure, it's sort of stalling. It's difficult to know at the moment whether it's going to be still active or not, i.e. giving out decent precipitation. Beyond that, it looks like the high pressure will eventually start to ease away the low pressure. Again, we maintain in this sort of battleground situation, but it does definitely look like in the longer term it will be going milder. Not very mild, but generally a little bit milder, and it will slowly thaw away any snow on the ground. Beyond that, we do start to go into quite a mild southerly wind, and could be seeing, mid-teens with that. Again, a subtle change in the high pressure position could pull in much colder air sitting to our northeast, so don't take that too literally. And as we head towards the end of the run, you see low pressure starts building off the Atlantic, but again, still a Scandinavian high. So very interesting to see what could happen with that. So GFS maintaining heights to our north, not putting a bitterly cold air mass in, but still showing potential there. And by the end of the run, we are pulling in a relatively cool easterly wind, but nothing bitterly cold. But there's still decent potential out there, and it's really just one to watch in the longer term. If we have a look at the GM run, again, very similar pattern up until the end of the week, and it's really what happens with this high pressure. We build the high pressure up towards Scandinavia, but the low pressure looks like it might win out on this run of the GM. So the low pressure does eventually win out, and it probably would bring a snow event with it once it bumps through. But again, turning to rain on the back edge, so it'll only be temporary if we do see that at all. But we'll have a look at the precipitation charts in a minute. Beyond that, low pressure comes in off the Atlantic and starts bringing in some mild southwesterly winds, but no blocking to our north with the GM. Very interesting with that. So very interesting with those upper air temperatures coming in from the south, bringing quite mild conditions. Again, very different to the GFS in terms of the Atlantic breaking through, and I suspect one of those will have to give way in the near future, as they both can't be right, one with blocking to our north, one without. I would more favour the blocking option at the moment, simply because that's what we've been seeing over this winter, and as a result of the sudden stratospheric warming, I suspect blocking is more favoured. So be interesting to see how that develops. Lastly, we'll have a look at the ECMWF, and you can see very similar patterns to the other models. Low pressure finally does win out on the ECMWF as well, and we end with a similar sort of southwesterly wind, but we are building higher pressure to our north and our northeast. So it's not going cold, going pretty mild in fact, but it's still showing higher pressure to our north. Those hints it could be building a higher pressure to our north, building back easterly winds potentially. But again, it's very difficult to say at the moment. It's very volatile, the models. If we now have a look at the upper airs and precipitation for London, you can see very cold for the next 2-3 days before it lifts up a little bit, but doesn't get above the -5 line, or the average at least, until a good 5-6 days' time, so around Sunday, Monday. And that's why we could see some snow with some precipitation spikes, but again, it's not particularly nailed on at the moment. Beyond that, it generally goes back towards average, but slow thaw. So we could be seeing below average temperatures, or cold, very cold temperatures, at least for the next maybe 5 or 6 days, and below average temperatures for maybe some 7 or 8, before it returns to around average, so sort of 7, 8, 9 degrees. So 6, 7, 8, 9 degrees towards probably the middle of next week, maybe a little bit later. So it'd be very interesting to see whether we see any flips with this. As a couple of days ago, we were seeing, or at least yesterday, we were seeing a few cold ensemble members. There's only a couple left, so it'll be interesting to see if any of that develops. We'll now have a look at the precipitation charts for the GFS run. The precipitation charts. There we go. We'll just see if there's any possibility of some heavier snow with this snowy breakdown. As you can see, as we head through Wednesday, still some snow showers, but as we get into Thursday, snow showers do diminish, and then we start to pull in potentially some heavy snow to the west. But as I said, as it comes to high pressure, it stalls and loses some of its energy. So it could drop a bit of snow, but perhaps not too much, before the Atlantic has another go and brings quite a decent snow event. Parts of northwest England, western parts of West Midlands, parts of Wales as well, potentially for some quite significant snow there, before the Atlantic has another go breaking through, and it breaks through that time with quite heavy snow, potential for a decent snow event there, before turning to rain with much milder conditions on that GFS run. So interesting to see. It's having a good couple of temps, so parts of western areas could see quite a lot of snow from that. If you now have a look at the GM run, you can see heavy snow at the moment. And into overnight, we see continued snow before Thursday. Snow peters out a little bit, and then we see some heavier snow in the southwest, potentially, not getting as far as Wales on this GEM run. Beyond that, we see potential for another weather front moving through, and it does turn to snow, especially for northern areas. It looks like milder areas undercut it further southwards. So, yeah, and then we go much milder sort of from Monday onwards. So maybe Sunday, Monday for a more widespread snow event, potentially. Again, it's very difficult to say what it will be at this far out. Lastly, we'll have a look at the icon model, again showing quite a decent rash of snow showers over today and tonight into tomorrow. And then those snow showers peter out into Thursday before weather fronts come in, and we do see a decent snow event for parts of Wales, southwest England potentially, and then another weather front moves through, and it does turn to readily to snow, even in the south there, so that could provide decent dumping of snow potentially there. And as we move through again, looking like more weather fronts coming in off the Atlantic. So very interesting from those models there. They're not all really agreeing, even in about 6-7 days' time. They're showing the same general pattern, but perhaps different sort of timelines, whether it was snow or rain. So yeah, interesting to see what happens with that. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for a new video tomorrow morning.